The Saemangeum Seawall stands as a monumental engineering achievement, stretching across the vast ocean.
Powerful tides from the Yellow Sea repeatedly pushed water toward South Korea's low-lying western coast.
To control the water and reclaim valuable land, South Korea envisioned a massive 33.9-kilometer seawall.
Building it required placing over 123 million tons of earth and rock into the sea.
Before construction, the Saemangeum coast lay completely open to the unpredictable forces of the Yellow Sea.
High tides regularly pushed seawater deep across the vast, exposed tidal flats, threatening local communities. Storm-driven waves raised water levels dramatically, flooding low-lying agricultural farmlands along the coast.
Natural drainage became nearly impossible whenever these high tides coincided with heavy seasonal rainfall.
Engineers meticulously studied how seawater entered and left the coastal basin to design a solution. Survey vessels mapped the seabed, measuring tidal ranges and identifying the strongest underwater channels.
Keep an eye on the torque readings. They're spiking again.
All right, I see it. Slowing the descent?
Engineers began designing a seawall capable of withstanding these extreme tidal forces and soft foundations.
In 1991, the historic construction of the Saemangeum Seawall finally commenced.
Drilling rigs bored deep holes into nearby rock faces to prepare for massive controlled explosions. Controlled blasts shattered the rocky hillsides, producing millions of tons of stone for the seawall.
Heavy excavators sorted the blasted rock by size, separating smaller stones from massive armor rocks.
Large loaders filled fleets of heavy dump trucks continuously, preparing them for transport.
Endless convoys of trucks carried the rock from the inland quarries toward the active coastline. At the docks, giant cranes transferred the sorted rocks onto massive transport barges. Barges carried the heavy stone out to the offshore construction fronts, battling the open waves. Trucks and barges dumped tons of rock directly into the powerful currents of the Yellow Sea. The initial layers of rock sank deep into the soft marine sediment on the ocean floor.
Crews continuously added more rock to compensate for the natural settlement of the seabed.
Layer by layer, workers built an enormous underwater foundation, reaching up to 500 meters wide. Excavators carefully shaped the rock embankment as it finally began to emerge above the water. Bulldozers flattened the top of the embankment, creating temporary roads for the heavy machinery.
With roads established, the seawall advanced further and further into the deep waters of the bay.
Heavy rollers compacted the upper layers of rock to ensure a stable and solid structure. Excavators formed the massive sloping sides, designed to dissipate the energy of incoming waves.
Giant armor stones and concrete blocks were placed along the seaward slopes for maximum protection.
Whenever powerful storms caused erosion, crews quickly repaired the damaged sections of the wall. As construction progressed, the remaining open gaps in the seawall became increasingly narrow. The narrowing gaps forced the same massive volume of water through much smaller openings, accelerating currents. The fierce currents were strong enough to sweep away freshly dumped rocks before they could settle.
Severe storms and high winds frequently halted crane operations and forced barges back to harbor.
To manage the water flow, engineers constructed massive concrete sluices, including the Sinzi sluice gates. Giant steel gates, each weighing 480 tons, were carefully lowered into place.
These sluice gates allowed engineers to regulate water levels and control the flow of the basin.
Engineers calculated the precise tidal window when currents would be at their absolute weakest.
In a coordinated effort, fleets of trucks and barges dumped rock simultaneously to close the final gap.
In 2006, the final sea gap was successfully closed, sealing the basin from the ocean.
With the seawall secured, workers began paving a modern multi-lane highway on top of the structure. In 2010, after 19 years of relentless work, the Saemangeum Seawall was officially completed.